All right, so you've done it. You've built your masterpiece, the code is perfect, and it runs like a dream on your machine. But now comes the real adventure, getting it out into the world. So today, let's start that journey and talk about deploying your project on Google Cloud.
The classic question, right? I think every single developer has asked this. It's that exact moment where local development ends and the global stage begins. But don't you worry, we've got the map. This is your guide through the entire landscape of Google Cloud deployment.
Okay, so every big journey has a starting line. And before we even think about choosing a path, we've got to cover the essential first steps that every single deployment on Google Cloud is going to need.
First things first, everything you do on Google Cloud has to live inside a Google Cloud project. Think of it like a container for all your stuff, so you'll create one of those. Next, you have to tell Google which tools you plan to use by enabling their APIs. It's kind of like flipping the power on for services like Cloud Run or the Kubernetes engine. And finally, you'll want to install the Cloud SDK. This gives you that super powerful G-Cloud command line tool to control everything right from your terminal.
With that prep work out of the way, we've arrived at our first big fork in the road. And this choice, right here, it's going to define your entire deployment experience. So the question is, are you looking for maximum convenience, or do you need ultimate control?
So here's the trade-off. The path of convenience. That's all about speed. You let Google manage the infrastructure, the servers, the scaling, all of it, so you can just focus on your code. It's absolutely perfect for getting standard web apps live fast. Now the path of control, well, that gives you the keys to the entire kingdom. You configure everything, which is exactly what you need for complex microservice architectures or anything with really specialized requirements.
That convenience path is powered by this idea called serverless. And no, it doesn't mean there aren't any servers. It just means you don't have to manage them. You just give Google your code or a container, and services like Cloud Run and App Engine, they handle all the scaling, the patching, and all those infrastructure headaches for you.
On the flip side, the control path is all about container orchestration. With Google Kubernetes Engine, or GKE, you are the captain of the ship. You define exactly how your containers run, how they talk to each other, how they scale, everything. It is incredibly powerful, super flexible, and it's the industry standard for a reason when you're building large-scale systems.
And hey, you don't just have to take my word for it. Here's a developer on Reddit summing up the convenience of App Engine perfectly. A simple config file, one command, and bam, your app is live. That right there, that's the feeling of taking the easy path.
So let's actually walk down that first path, shall we? The serverless route. We're going to see how services like Cloud Run can get your code to a public URL with the absolute minimum amount of friction.
For a containerized app, the journey to Cloud Run is just so straightforward. You define your whole application's environment in a Docker file, you build that into an image and push it up to Google's artifact registry, and then you deploy it. It's just a clean, repeatable process.
And you know what? In many cases, it gets even easier than that. With this single command, Cloud Build can literally take the code directly from your current directory, build the container for you, push it, and deploy it to Cloud Run. One line. That's it. One line to go from your laptop to being live on the internet. That's the power of serverless convenience.
But what if you need more? What if easy isn't enough? What if you're building a really complex system with a ton of moving parts? Well, that's when we take the other fork in the road, the power path, where Google Kubernetes Engine gives you that fine-grained control over your entire application stack. Your GKE journey begins by creating a cluster. With this one command, you're basically provisioning your own personal fleet of managed servers. This is the backbone for all your Kubernetes applications.
With your cluster ready to go, you use the legendary Kubernetes tool, kubectl. This command right here pulls your container image and just fires it up inside the cluster you just built. Simple as that.
So your app is running, but it's kind of isolated right now. This final command is what exposes it to the world. It automatically creates a network load balancer and gives you a public IP address that routes traffic directly to your application. Now you have full control and full public access.
Okay, so you've chosen your path, convenience or control, and you've successfully deployed your app. But are you going to manually do all that every single time you change your code? Of course not. It is time to put this entire journey on autopilot with what we call CI/CD, or continuous integration and continuous delivery.
And the process, when you automate it, is just beautiful. It all starts when you push new code to your repository. That automatically triggers Google's Cloud Build service. It runs your tests, builds your container image, and pushes it to the registry. And then, for the final step, Cloud Build tells Cloud Run or GKE to deploy the new version. Your changes are live automatically and safely, without you lifting a finger.
We have covered a lot of ground, from the initial setup all the way to fully automated deployments. But here's the thing, crossing the finish line of that first deployment, that isn't the end of the race. It's really just the beginning of your application's life in the cloud.
So let's do a quick recap with a little checklist. You need a project? Check. You've got to make that core choice, serverless for convenience or GKE for control. You should definitely be automating with Cloud Build, but now you need to start thinking beyond deployment. What's your plan for networking and databases? How will your app connect to them? And crucially, how are you going to monitor your application's health to make sure it actually stays up and running?
And that leads us to our final big question. Getting your project live is a huge accomplishment, for sure. But the real challenge, the long-term goal, is making sure it's reliable, performant, and secure over time. Deployment is step one. So how will you take all the next steps to ensure your application doesn't just run, but actually thrives in the cloud?